The explosion tore through the pale dawn like the earth itself was screaming. The desert valley lit up in a flash of white and orange, followed by a low, rolling echo that rattled the bones of every man crouched in the ravine below. Lieutenant Commander Jack Hale hit the sand hard, instinct driving him flat before his brain caught up. Heat washed over the rocks. Debris whistled through the morning air. A moment ago, Nightbird 2 had been a black silhouette against the horizon, circling in for their pickup. Now it was just a column of smoke clawing at the sky. He lifted his head, helmet scraped and dusted white. "Everyone up," he barked. His voice carried the edge of command and disbelief. "That bird's gone." Chief Morales was already moving, compact and fast, rifle sweeping the ridge. "RPG came from the east slope," he said. "I saw the flare." His tone was tight, anger wound into every syllable. The rest of the six-man team, Ghost 6, fanned out, weapons ready. They'd finished the op only minutes ago, blowing the supply cache that had fed enemy convoys for weeks. Everything had gone clean, smooth. The plan had been simple. Plant charges, exfil before sunrise, get home. But plans didn't bleed, and men did. Doc Keller crouched beside a boulder, checking their only radio unit. "Signals intermittent. Terrain interference past 5 miles. We're in a dead pocket." Hale scanned the jagged valley walls. The light was coming fast, turning the sand from purple to gold. Their tracks were already visible. He pulled the GPS, read the numbers aloud. Grid 287593, 12 clicks from the border. He looked at Morales. "How's ammo?" "6 mags per man," Morales said. "M240's got 1 belt left." That was it. Not enough to hold a perimeter if they were surrounded. Hale could feel the weight of command like sand in his throat. "Overlord, this is Ghost 6, he said into the radio, pressing the transmit key. "Nightbird 2 is down. We are stranded in hostile territory. Request immediate air support." Static, then a voice, flat and far away. "Ghost 6, Overlord copies. Negative on close air. All assets engaged north sector. Advise you move to fallback grid Sierra 5. Hale stared at the handset. "That's 12 clicks of open desert," he said quietly. "We won't make it a quarter of that in daylight." A faint pop cracked from the east ridge, then another. Dust plumed near Morales' boots. The first bullets. "Contact left." The team dropped low, returning controlled bursts. M4s barked, echoing through the canyon. Hale saw shadows moving at 300 meters, figures darting between rocks, rifles flashing in the sun. The enemy was closing fast, organized and confident. He crawled toward Keller, who was already tending to Petty Officer Dunn. A graze, upper arm, nothing fatal yet. Blood soaked into the sand anyway. "Keep him stable," Hale said. "Copy that," Keller muttered, tearing gauze with his teeth. Rounds clanged off rock behind them. Hale gritted his teeth and keyed the radio again. "Overlord, this is Ghost 6. We are pinned. I say, again pinned. Taking mortar fire, range 300 meters. We are black on ammo. Request CAS now." No response, just the faint hiss of static. A taunting silence. A dull thud shook the ground. Then another. Mortars. The enemy was adjusting range, walking the fire closer. Hale could feel each concussion in his chest. Shrapnel hissed past, biting into the stone. "Move west. Use the gully," he shouted. "Go, go." They ran, bent double, keeping low. Sand sprayed as another round hit behind them. Keller dragged Dunn by the vest. Morales covered their retreat with short, controlled bursts from the M240. Brass fell in glittering arcs. They dove behind a rock outcropping barely high enough to crouch. Morales slapped the last belt into the gun, sweat carving lines through the dust on his face. 300 rounds left, he said. "Make 'em count." For a moment, the fire paused. The air trembled with heat and the sharp scent of metal. The smoke column from the downed helicopter smeared across the horizon like a wound. Hale tried the radio again, adjusting the frequency. Anything to punch through the interference. Ghost 6 to any Allied aircraft, this is emergency traffic. Nightbird 2 is down. Coordinates 287593. Need cover fire and evac. Say again, we need cover fire and evac. Nothing but static. Across the valley, a truck engine roared to life, then another. Through his scope, Morales saw movement. 2 technicals with mounted guns closing fast across the flats. 2 trucks, closing distance, range 600. Hale's stomach tightened. They couldn't run. They couldn't hide. He took a slow breath, looked at his team. Faces coated in dust, eyes raw from smoke. Every one of them waiting for his next word. Leadership wasn't about being fearless. It was about standing up even when fear had already claimed your bones. "Set fields of fire," he said. "We hold here." Morales nodded grimly. Keller whispered something to Dunn, a small reassurance that neither man believed. Then the first heavy gun opened up. Tracers sliced the air, chewing through rock and sand. Hale returned fire, aiming for the gunner's silhouette. Short bursts controlled. The M4 kicked steady in his hands. One truck veered, hit a dune, tumbled sideways. The other pressed on, rounds ripping through the gully walls. "Ammo's low," Morales shouted. "Last 50. Hale's mind raced. He scanned the sky, empty blue. Somewhere, someone had to be listening. He grabbed the radio again, voice hoarse. "Any aircraft, any call sign. This is Ghost 6, grid 287593. We are under heavy fire requesting immediate support." For a heartbeat, nothing. Then, faintly, a voice. A woman's voice. Calm, crisp, controlled. "This is Warhammer 3-1. Copy distress call, Ghost 6. Confirm coordinates." Hale froze, not sure if he'd imagined it. "Warhammer 3-1. Copy. Coordinates confirmed. We are surrounded. Requesting CAS Priority 1. "Roger that, Ghost 6, she said. "Hold your position." Then the line went dead. Hale looked up again, squinting through the glare. The trucks were closing and the air was alive with gunfire. But something inside him shifted, a thread of hope he hadn't felt in hours. Somewhere out there, someone had heard them. He tightened his grip on the rifle and gave a slow, grim smile. "Hold fast, boys," he said. "Help's coming." And above the rising heat shimmer, far to the west, a thin contrail began to cut across the morning sky. The sound that followed would change everything. "Control, this is Warhammer 3-1. Wheels up. If they're alive, I'm bringing them home." The words left Kara Trent's mouth before she even realized she'd said them. Her voice was steady, clipped, pure flight discipline. But inside, her pulse was pounding. The airfield was still dark, pre-dawn haze curling off the tarmac. She had half a fuel load, limited ordnance, and a sky already turning hostile. Command had told her to stand down. She couldn't. Somewhere out there, 6 men were dying while bureaucracy caught its breath. The A-10 thundered down the runway, her engines roaring against the thin desert air. Kara pulled back on the stick, feeling the vibration in her bones as the Warthog lifted off, heavy but determined. Her eyes flicked across the HUD, fuel at 54%, 2 AGM-65s, a partial 30mm load. Enough to make noise, not enough for a war. Major Reeves's voice broke through comms. "Warhammer 3-1, you're violating direct orders. Return to base immediately." "Copy, Control," she replied, just checking a signal anomaly near Sector Delta 9. Then she switched frequencies before he could respond. The climb smoothed out into thin blue. Below, the desert unfolded in folds of copper and shadow. Kara leveled off, checking coordinates. The distress call from Ghost 6 repeated in her mind, the desperation behind the voice. "We are black on ammo, requesting CAS." She opened a channel. "Ghost 6, this is Warhammer 3-1. I'm inbound to your grid. Confirm position." Static answered. Then, faint and broken, "Warhammer, this is Ghost 6. 12 clicks south of Ridgeline. Red smoke if we can pop it." "Copy. Sit tight." She adjusted heading, estimated arrival in 6 minutes. Her stomach was a knot of steel. She'd flown combat sorties before, Afghanistan, coastal interdictions, but never solo against an active assault with no backup. She checked her mirrors, confirming the absence of her wingman. The sky felt too big, too quiet. Down below, the SEALs were cornered. Hale crouched behind a rock shelf, rifle pressed to his shoulder. Dust cascaded from each impact near his position. Morales was firing the M240, short, precise bursts to conserve rounds. Keller dragged Dunn's limp form deeper into cover. The team's last smoke grenade lay on the ground beside Hale, a small, desperate card left to play. "Pop smoke," Hale ordered. Morales yanked the pin. Red vapor erupted, torn sideways by the hot wind. "Now we see if someone's listening." They were down to 2 magazines each when the first distant growl rolled through the valley. A low, mechanical rumble that grew into a roar. Hale looked up. Through the haze, a gray silhouette swept across the sky. Stub wings, brutal nose. "Jesus," Morales muttered. "That's an A-10. The radio crackled. "Ghost 6, Warhammer 3-1. Visual on your smoke. 2 vehicles east of your position closing fast. Mark confirmed." "Confirmed," Hale said, disbelief threading his voice. "Targets are hostile technicals, 400 meters out." "Copy that. Stay low." Kara banked hard, lining up her approach. The Warthog's nose dipped. The desert rushed up to meet her. At 300 feet, she squeezed the trigger. The Go-8 cannon spat a thunderous 2-second burst, 30 millibird shells walking fire across the valley floor. The first vehicle erupted, tossing flame and debris skyward. The second swerved, halted, then vanished under another burst. The sound tore through the air, echoing off stone like a god's hammer. "Nice shooting," Hale breathed, eyes wide. "Don't thank me yet," Kara murmured to herself, pulling up sharply. The radar warning tone screamed in her headset. Surface fire. She saw tracers reaching up, thin white arcs against the rising sun. "Someone's got eyes on me." The next pass came lower. She rolled the jet, dropping flares, adjusting angle for maximum visual cover. She'd done this dance 100 times in simulators, but simulators didn't have real men counting on her. "Ghost 6, mark again," she said. "I've got 90 seconds before bingo fuel." Hale threw another smoke canister. "Red smoke up, 500 meters west of Pryor. Visual, engaging." Another dive, tighter this time. Kara's left wing shuddered violently as a burst of ground fire clipped her underside. Alarms flared. The panel flashed red. Hydraulic pressure low. Come on," she hissed. The jet responded sluggishly. Half her GAU-8 feed went dead. She was down to half her bite. "Warhammer, you still with us?" Hale called. "Still here," she said, forcing calm into her voice. "Little cosmetic damage, nothing major." Her left hand trembled slightly as she steadied the throttle. The world narrowed to her cockpit and the coordinates burning on the HUD. She wouldn't tell them how bad it was. They needed hope, not panic. Below, enemy reinforcements arrived, 6 figures advancing from the ridge. The SEALs were nearly out of ammunition. Morales switched to single fire, Hale covering the medic as he worked on Dunn. "Warhammer, they're pushing hard from the east." "I see them." Kara lined up her shot, heart pounding. The reticle flashed red. She fired, a short burst to conserve what was left. The rounds walked perfectly across the ridge, scattering dust, men, and metal. The ground fire ceased. Silence fell, broken only by the crackle of burning vehicles. "Ghost 6, you're clear. For now." "Copy that. Warhammer, you saved our asses." "Let's keep saving them," she replied. "What's your condition?" "2 wounded, mobility limited." "Understood. I'll maintain overhead as long as I can. Fuel state's critical." She checked her gauges, 12% remaining. Enough for maybe 10 minutes. She had to make them count. Imagined Reeves's voice suddenly returned, faint on an alternate channel. "Warhammer 3-1, respond. You are out of sector and out of line. Return to base immediately. Kara's jaw clenched. Control, I've got friendlies on the ground. I'm not leaving them. That's a direct order, Lieutenant. She killed the channel. Circling lower, she scanned for more movement. The horizon shimmered with heat. The smoke from the strike was drifting north, blending with the clouds. Below, the SEALs were regrouping, patching wounds, salvaging ammo. She could almost see them through the dust, tiny shapes clinging to life against impossible odds. Ghost 6, this is Warhammer, she said softly. I'll hold until you move. When I say go, you head west. Understand? Copy, Warhammer. West it is. She watched the gauges sink lower. 8% fuel. The sun climbed higher, washing the valley in white light. Every minute she stayed meant one less chance of making it home. But leaving them wasn't an option. Not anymore. The desert shimmered. Her warning lights flickered. The left wing trembled again, a subtle vibration that promised worse to come. Kara took a slow breath, eyes narrowing on the horizon. Warhammer 3-1, she whispered. Let's earn the name. And as the wounded jet curved back toward the burning ridge, the line between duty and defiance vanished into the heat. The storm was only beginning. The Warthog's landing gear screamed against sand and fire. No one had ever tried something this insane. Kara Trent gritted her teeth as the A-10 slammed down hard onto the desert flat, the airframe groaning under the impact. Dust swallowed her view. Warning lights flashed across the cockpit. Hydraulic pressure critical, left stabilizer compromised. She fought the yoke, keeping the nose steady, dragging the heavy jet into a rough skid that tore up the earth in a plume of grit and smoke. When the aircraft finally halted, her hands were trembling, her heart hammering. Outside, the world was chaos. Smoke drifted from the wreckage of burned-out vehicles. The sun was dipping, casting long orange shadows across the valley. Ghost 6 was pinned behind a jagged ridge barely 300 meters away, exchanging fire with the remnants of the enemy force. Kara's breathing slowed to a determined calm. She unstrapped, grabbed her sidearm, and popped the canopy release. Hot wind rushed in. Ghost 6, this is Warhammer 3-1, she called over the radio. You've got a ride. I'm on the deck, 200 meters north of your position. A pause, then Hale's voice crackled through, disbelief mixed with adrenaline. Say again? You landed that thing? Affirmative. Get your men here now. We're running out of daylight. Gunfire stitched across the sand as the SEALs began to move. Morales led, covering their wounded as Keller and Dunn staggered behind him. Hale brought up the rear, firing short bursts with his M4 to keep heads down. The air was thick with heat and cordite. Kara climbed down from the fuselage, scanning the horizon. She could feel the vibrations through her boots. Distant engines, maybe reinforcements. Come on, she muttered. Faster. Morales reached her first, eyes wide. You're out of your damn mind, ma'am. Get them in, Kara ordered. She pointed to the open armor bay beneath the fuselage, the same compartment used for maintenance tools and ammo storage. Load the wounded there. Strap them down with whatever you can find. The SEALs moved with mechanical efficiency. They laid Dunn inside, then the other wounded operator, pale and barely conscious. Keller tore strips of fabric from his uniform to secure them. Hale sprinted the last distance, sliding into cover beside Kara as a burst of enemy fire kicked up dirt around them. They're closing in, he shouted. Then we're leaving. She climbed back into the cockpit, flipping switches, her motions sharp and precise despite the chaos. Hydraulic fluid warnings blinked red, but the engines responded with a rising growl. Hale clambered up the ladder after her, looking around the cramped cockpit. There's no space, he said. You'll ride behind me. Strap in wherever you can. Morales was still outside, firing toward the ridge. Go! I'll cover. Morales! Hale's voice cracked. Go! Hale hesitated for half a second, then jumped in, slamming the canopy down. Kara throttled up. The jet lurched forward, engines howling. She didn't look back. She couldn't. Through the canopy, dust and tracers streaked past like falling stars. The A-10 tore across the flat, bouncing, skidding, refusing to lift. Kara jammed the throttle forward. The nose lifted slightly, then dipped again. A warning beeped. Hydraulic system 20%. "Come on, baby," she whispered. "Fly." The Warthog lifted, engines screaming in defiance as tracer fire sliced past the wings. Kara pulled hard on the yoke, the jet barely clearing the ridgeline before lurching into the open sky. A round grazed the right engine, shuddering the whole frame. But they were flying. Hale's voice cracked through the comms, raw with disbelief. "Ghost 6 aboard. 2 wounded, throttle maxed." Kara steadied her breath. "Copy that. Airspeed 180 knots, power at 20%. Hold tight. We're not home yet." The desert stretched beneath them like an endless wound of sand and smoke. Every second was a fight. The controls were stiff, warning lights flashing like dying stars. Kara's muscles trembled, her vision tunneling toward the dim horizon. "Base, this is Warhammer 3-1, she called. 6 minutes out. Request emergency landing." Static. Then Reeves' voice, softer than she'd ever heard it. "You're alive?" "Alive," she replied, "and I'm not alone." As the runway appeared through haze, Hale leaned forward. "Can you make it?" Kara almost smiled. "We'll find out." The landing gear jammed halfway, hydraulics gone. She aimed for the center line, the impact brutal. Metal shrieked, sparks flew, and then silence. They had made it home.